Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Stephanie Miller Show. I'm walking on sunshine. We're walking on sunshine.
Uh-oh, everybody. Happy Friday. Yep. Looky here. Job market heats up in April. Unemployment rate drops to 6.3%.
Yeah.
Obamacare just saved the U.S. economy from contraction, reads another headline. You know what that means?
What?
Benghazi. Yep, sure enough. Sure enough. There's a headline. New Benghazi emails could derail Hillary in 2016.
Fox News was all over that yesterday.
Good luck with this. I think, you know what, we better get ready.
Benghazi.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
This has been a test of the right-wing troll notification system. Had this been an actual issue, you would have been instructed where to tune in your area for half-baked information. This concludes this test of the right-wing troll notification system.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Oh, Jim, speaking of which, who said our Democratic friends, for the most part, have been in the tank over Benghazi? The scumbags are the people in the White House who lied about this. Yikes.
Glenn Beck.
No, good guess, though.
Senator Lindsey Graham.
Oh, my God.
Senator Huckleberry Butch-me-up.
Yes.
Wow. He's getting heat.
Let me show you how it's done in a manly way.
He's really butching up. Somebody's getting teabagged. Wowee. Only one man to go to now. Yeah.
Just all right with me. Just all right. Oh, yeah. Just all right with me.
Just all right.
Just all right.
He's not just all right. He's fine. Good morning, John Fugelsang.
That's kind of what that meant in the 60s.
Good morning. I'm John Fugelsang. I was wrong about impeaching Clinton and invading Iraq and Obama not being born in America. And I used to be mad that George Bush was warned about 9/11 and ignored it, and that 60 people were killed in embassy attacks during the Bush years and Republicans didn't care. But now that I'm high on Benghazi, I realize that 9/11 doesn't count as a terrorist attack, and President Bush should only be judged by what happened after that day. And that's nothing compared to the blood Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have on their hands for plotting and carrying out the Benghazi attack. Because remember, blame Obama, blame Clinton, just don't ever blame the terrorists. Benghazi!
John Fugelsang!
For the win.
Gentlemen, for the win!
FTW.
Nothing but net. And by the way, those cheers are from Chicago theaters still. Fugelsang has left the building, my friends.
That was quite a crowd in Chicago the other
Wow.
night.
It was.
Wow-wee. What a time was had by all, John Fugelsang. Wow. That was, see what you just did there? That's why you were the Fugelsangian one. I mean, it really is incredible, right? You go, two good news for America headlines. It's like going to be all Benghazi all the time, right?
Yep, as long as you don't ever blame the terrorists. That's the one rule, Republicans, don't forget. And don't ever mention the fact that it was the CIA and Petraeus that authored the theory about the video.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this really is incredible. It becomes a joke where you think, oh, no, they're not going to bring this up again, and, here we go, right? The president's...
Well, what are they going to do, come up with new ideas? They still have to keep the trickle-down going.
I know. Here he is, Jake Harney, yesterday.
The talking points that Ambassador Rice used,
oh, here we go
again, produced by the intelligence community for members of Congress, and in the interest of having everybody use the same information used by the administration and Ambassador Rice on those Sunday shows, were divulged.
How many smoking guns can we have? It's, this is the hot. Now it's the right.
Ha 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 ha.
I mean, John, honestly, this is like we were just reading stories yesterday. They really thought Obamacare was going to be a slam dunk, and it is incredible. The one I'm reading this morning.
Exploding birdseed.
Yeah, Obamacare just saved the U.S. economy from contraction.
Damn it!
The U.S. economy teetered on the brink of contraction in the first quarter, one thing stood out: healthcare spending increased at the fastest pace in more than 3 decades. That surge attributed to the implementation of President Obama's healthcare law. Because of Obamacare, the nation narrowly avoided its first decline in output in 3 years. GDP growth would have been negative were it not for healthcare spending. And then the real stories are starting to come out, John, and people are starting to use them, right?
Mm-hmm.
About,
Exactly right. And, again, it's like these guys have nothing to run on. They have no new ideas. The important thing to drill into the heads of all your Republican friends, Steph heads, is that they want to do exactly what Bush did and call it something else. There's no difference in economic policy between these guys and what Bush did.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, the president's Carney one more time yesterday.
What hasn't changed has been the effort by Republicans to claim a conspiracy when they haven't been able to find one.
I mean, that's the main thing, John. It's as we have said over and over again, there obviously was a huge fog of confusion as this was all happening. They keep trying to make everything conspiratorial that has been disproven over and over.
But if Lindsay had been there,
I give the Obama administration credit for making it so easy for these guys to keep on harping on Benghazi. There were over 20 different protests in the Middle East at different U.S. embassies that day. At our embassy in Egypt, protesters actually swarmed the embassy. Over the video, they climbed up and pulled down the American flag and put up an Islamist flag. This was happening all over the place, and it was reasonable for Petraeus and the CIA, again, the guys who said this first and gave the notes to Susan Rice, to believe that that was what was going on. These guys are exploiting this the way they exploited 9/11 to invade Iraq. They're exploiting 9/11 2012 to attack Obama and Clinton. And it's really disgusting, and it's deeply un-American. And again, these guys don't give a damn about embassy security, or else they'd be mad at the GOP for voting down funding.
I was reading a Salon headline, John. GOP candidates freak out moment as Obamacare horror stories flop. What's left? Well, this is it. I mean, now they've moved on from Obamacare horror stories, all of which have mostly been proven bogus, and now we're back to this, right?
And they should be thrilled about Obamacare because it proves that their theory was right. The liberals wanted single payer, the Democrats wanted a public option. As we pointed out on your wonderful show many times, Steph, Obamacare is the GOP plan. It is the private market plan. It is the Mitt Romney plan, the Heritage Foundation plan, the make people pull themselves up by their bootstraps to be responsible and buy private insurance plans. I keep telling all my anti-Obamacare friends, why are you such socialists? Why do you want to go back to the days of uninsured showing up at the emergency rooms and the local taxpayers pick up the check?
Yep, exactly.
Filthy Republican socialists.
Daryl Ice is a little Benghazi chubby again. Isn't that cute?
He does.
Isn't that cute?
It is disturbing and perhaps criminal that these documents like these were hidden by the Obama administration from Congress and the public alike.
Perhaps, or criminal-ish, like many of the other investigations I've started and have gone nowhere. It seems...
Perhaps it could be under certain circumstances in a kind of way.
Right.
If, blah, blah, blah.
Right, just like the Bush administration would actually, there wouldn't be actual terror threats, but they'd be threat-ish type situations that would involve
terror-ish,
having to...
threat-ish kind of situation.
Yeah, like a presidential daily briefing on August 6, 2001, telling you exactly what was going to happen, and you go on a month-long vacation.
Yeah.
You're welcome, America.
I'm glad someone decided the decider was going to do nothing about that.
Here he is, noted Southern belle, Lindsey Graham.
This is the closest thing to a smoking gun I've seen. This was an email trying to shape the story away from what would have been a damaging admission of failure of foreign policy 7 weeks before an election. That's why it's important.
They got the information direct from our intelligence sources.
Yeah, I love
it. Wasn't shaping anything. It was what they knew at the time.
4,000 soldiers dead in Iraq, and these guys aren't mad about the WMD lie. These guys will exploit any kind of tragedy, any kind of American death. The carnage and slaughter of Americans are money to these guys, and that's all it is. They are the worst kind of anti-American scum out there, and their taste in music sucks, and they wear bad suits.
John Fugelsang, the thing that strikes me, though, is you can tell that Lindsey Graham is obviously getting teabagged, because you go, this is a United States senator that's calling people in the White House scumbags and liars.
Yeah, well, Lindsey Graham, keep in mind, is one of the only prosecutors of the Clinton impeachment who's still in Congress. And, his credibility speaks for itself. He is so despised by the Tea Party, and he is so despised by the Republicans because they believe certain unproven things about his sexuality that he is going to wallow in the Benghazi muck as much as he can and pander to the worst elements of his party to save his own skin.
I don't know what you're saying. I think the Clinton thing, clearly he's outraged at BJ's. I think he clearly...
Right.
His distaste for that was clear. He's horrified.
I would have been disgusted with Lindsey Graham by heterosexual oral sex in the White House as well.
He had to hear about the BJ's over and over again just to reinforce how horrified he was.
I'm so horrified about Benghazi. Oh, did I say men? Oops.
All right, 16 minutes after the hour.
I still have no idea what you're implying.
I don't know either. It's so subtle. What are we saying exactly? All right, 16 minutes after the hour, Fridays with Fugelsang continues. This hour of the Stephanie Miller Show brought to you by ProFlowers. Why?
Why?
Mom's Day coming up. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up, John. Do it.
I won't. You
better get these to Asheville in time, my friend. Okay. Fill her special day with 1 dozen assorted colored roses with a free glass vase from ProFlowers. It's upstairs right now. You can go see how beautiful it is.
Really? You should take a picture and tweet it.
Okay. Listen, I'm in the middle of talking about this. I can't multitask. Anyway, with a free glass vase from ProFlowers.com for just $19.99. If Mom has a green thumb, upgrade to the pink potted rose or yellow potted rose plant for just $9.99 more. Use my code Stephanie. You get this special Mother's Day deal. Order now while supplies last. ProFlowers guarantee to last a full week or your money back. They are freshly picked bouquets, perfect for Mother's Day. Ordering is easy. Pick up your delivery date. It's guaranteed. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Here's the only way to get this amazing Mother's Day special. Go to ProFlowers.com, click on the blue microphone in the top right-hand corner, type in Stephanie. ProFlowers.com, blue mic in the top right-hand corner, type in Stephanie. This deal expires Friday at midnight. Make sure you order today. 17 minutes after the hour, we roll along. Fridays with Fugelsang on the Stephanie Miller Show. Yeah. Dean Obadala coming up at the top of the hour, and Bob Shrum in hour number 3.
Yeah.
Political consultant. 1-800 and Pundit. Okay.
And columnist for the Daily Beast.
There you go. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Fridays with sexy liberal John Fugelsang, who ripped it up at the Chicago Theater. Very, very exciting this past Saturday night, along with extra mookage here. Yes, indeed.
It was great to see Jim and Chris on stage.
Some beautiful pictures of John Fugelsang up at Sexy Liberal Facebook, sexyliberal.com, and also Stephanie Miller Show Facebook. Do it. Go look at them. Try not to look. It's like looking into an eclipse, so don't stare too long at John Fugelsang. It's too much. Let's see. Jennifer in Tyler, Texas, John, says, Mom and the Mooks, after you bring Sexy Liberal tour to Texas to celebrate Wendy Davis becoming our next governor, you should go to Beaver, Utah and visit Beaver Taco. She sent me a nice...
Oh, my.
Yeah, there's
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Right, it's a sign. It says Beaver Taco, eat fresh.
Wow, over at Euphemism Junction.
Wow.
Oh, I hope there is such a thing as a Governor Wendy Davis, don't you, John? I
do. I'd love to see it happen.
I was watching, I don't know if you've seen All About Ann, the HBO documentary about Ann Richards. It is amazing, and it just makes you go, oh, God. You know, if it weren't for...
Well, I miss her, and, you know, Texas has produced lots of really strong, dynamic, progressive women over the years, and I'd love to see Wendy Davis be a part of it. And I'm hoping that she's strong enough to handle all the garbage they're going to throw at her.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, you look at when you watch this documentary, you look at what Karl Rove did and George W. did to Ann Richards, and you're like, oh, if only, you know, she had won and gone on to be president instead of...
Yeah, that really ruins my opinion of Karl Rove and George W. Bush.
I know. I'm sorry. I know you have to go back some, don't you, to think of things that would make you...
Look, I'm not myself this week in general, Steph. I got to be honest. Donald Sterling has made me ashamed to be a racist billionaire. And just really, really awkward.
Yeah, we have had not a chance to talk about that. It was...
Did you see the news that broke last night?
No, what's that
He's been battling prostate cancer for quite some time now. So.
Oh, my God. Is the tumor okay?
And Leon Jenkins, the president of the L.A. chapter of the NAACP, has resigned.
Oh, okay.
Because of the award they were going to give him.
You know, I pointed this out on the Katie Couric show. It's airing today that George W. Bush's Department of Justice were the ones who brought charges up against Donald Sterling for racism and housing discrimination in the Koreatown apartments he owned, and he had to pay a fine of almost $3 million. It was the biggest fine ever paid for housing discrimination. So even the Bush administration thought this guy was too racist.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, John. When you read the details of that, it's fairly horrifying. And there was a piece in the Daily Beast about his wife, Rochelle. And they write, if Mrs. Sterling has any intention of attending more playoff games, much less holding on to the team, she needs to explain her role in her husband's effort to push out minority tenants. So, I obviously think they need a clean slate, but. This is what I had heard, even before this latest piece. But as had been widely reported, Donald Sterling's former property supervisor testified in that housing suit when someone remarked on the odor at a newly acquired building. Sterling said, "Oh, it's because of all the blacks in the building. They smell. They're not clean. It's because of all the Mexicans that just sit around and smoke and drink all day." What had not been widely reported is her testimony regarding Rochelle Sterling's unusual role in managing the properties. She declares that when she worked for Sterling, she often accompanied Rochelle Sterling on apartment inspections. Rochelle Sterling would regularly pose as a government official in order to gain access to tenants' apartments. And during the inspection, Sterling directed her to record, among other things, tenants' ethnicity. The judge noted the plaintiff's contention that the true purpose of the bogus official inspections Rochelle Sterling conducted was to harass and intimidate African-American and Latino tenants. And the evidence in the discrimination suit included a video filmed by a black tenant that shows her posing as a health inspector. Yikes. It's just like
Bottom line is, it's going to have to be a clean break, Steph, because Donald Sterling has driven away more sponsors than Lindsay Lohan did at Betty Ford. It seems strange that a guy could hate black folks this much and own an NBA team, but in fairness, he's older, his eyesight's poor. He thought it was hockey, apparently. I love the tape. And I love the girlfriend or the property or whatever she was that made the tape. I think it's great when evil billionaires wind up with the right evil arm candy. It's romantic. But I just wish he could have ended that tape by telling her, don't bring any Redskins to my game either, because then we could keep this thing moving forward. If we could take all the outrage over the Donald Sterling tape and direct it towards, our racist drug war, our racist sentencing, our racial income inequality gaps, we might actually see some real social change here. And I'd love to see it happen. But I think what they should do is let his girlfriend date whoever she wants, make him watch, put it on pay-per-view, and balance the budget.
Oh, didn't you hear yesterday? She said that she is going to become president of the United States.
Yes, at her Daft Punk helmet, I heard her say
yes. Yes, so that she can, cure racial inequality once and for all in America.
It's a beautiful thing.
But by the way, Chris, what you just said kind of, adds new meaning to this whole. He's 81, and he apparently has prostate cancer. But John, the news yesterday is he's going to fight this. He's going to try to keep this in court forever. You're like, really? This is what you're going to do with your last moments on Earth?
Well, and that's his right, and he's allowed to do it. And again, I agree with Kareem. Think about how angry we get at the NSA, and just look at how there's no privacy left at all in this country. I mean, if you listen to the tape, I'm sorry, that woman, Ms. Diviano, really was baiting this doddering old bigot and trying to get him to say the most offensive things while she plays her Gandhi act. It's very, very vulgar all around. It's a bunch of nasty, nasty people. But the fact is, I'm proud to live in a society where we get angry about this. 40 years ago, this wouldn't have been a big deal that he said things like this. Well, and today, it gives me hope in America.
Well, I mean, that was what was out there yesterday. Everybody saying, should, somebody lose their livelihood or their business over a private phone conversation or what they... But, I mean, that's the other thing, is apparently he knew she was taping it.
Well, she was the archivist, I guess.
Right,
This goes back to the whole issue. There is free speech, and there are consequences to free speech, and adults need to learn the line.
I'm just happy to know that archivist arm candy is a new career option for the gals. Okay.
Well, I mean, come on. You listen to the tape. He doesn't care if he sleeps with black men. He just doesn't want them bringing him to the games.
Yep.
I mean, he's a really bad racist, first off.
All right, more Fridays with Bugle saying next on the Stephanie Miller Show. Sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just reading my own press. Sorry.
All right.
I'm just comparing the difference between our ratings and Fresh Limo. It's not important now.
Oh.
Okay. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Fridays with sexy liberal John Fugel saying, good morning, John.
Good morning, Steffers. Good morning, Steph heads out there. And again, great job in Chicago the other night. I'm very excited to finally bring this beast of a tour back to Albuquerque.
Oh, my God.
Next
my
weekend.
golly, next Saturday. Very exciting.
I love Albuquerque so much.
Too.
I fell in love there once. I played at the Revolution International Theater Festival there, the Free Speech Comedy Festival, and when we brought our show there, God, over 2 years ago, it was such a riot. I'm so ready to go back there.
We had a great time.
Their silly governor.
Exactly. We had a great time there with Hal. We had a great time with Aisha, remember, in Santa Fe.
That's right.
So Santa Fesians, this is a whole new show with John and Carlos and I.
Is that a thing?
What?
Santa Fesians?
Santa Fesians. That's what I'm calling it.
It ought to be.
Yes. So come on, get them last tickets. John Fugelsang, you tweeted, is this botched execution murder? You often talk about that Jesus, obviously, got the death penalty. But this was pretty
not huge on the death penalty. In fact, if there was no death penalty, there's a chance Jesus might still be here.
Right.
And Christians, he didn't say, forgive us our trespasses, as we lethally inject those who trespass against us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was horrifying. I think even no matter what side of the issue you're on, this took him fully, 45 minutes to die?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so now, of course, you will hear right-wing outrage left and right today because the family of the inmate is eyeing a lawsuit over the botched execution.
Well, they should, because when you look at the paper trail of how this governor did everything to intimidate legislators and the judges from blocking this execution, our European friends are really turned off by how much we enjoy killing sinners, and they stopped selling us the drugs. And so we now have this own mystery cocktail of drugs to kill people. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it does, because guess what? No one's ever come back from an execution injection to write a review of the experience on Yelp. So, they actually had to lower the blinds because the guy's veins were exploding. It was unpleasant for the viewers to watch. No one's saying this guy was innocent of the crimes. No one's saying he didn't do horrible, horrible things. But, America is one of the only first-world democracies that still kills people who kill people to prove that killing people is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and by the way, just so you know, the stepmother of Clayton Lockett said, I'm not seeking financial gain from this. My main thing is I want the process changed. And same thing with the relatives of the guy in Ohio. Remember, John, who was executed in January? Same thing, untested combination of drugs. It filed suit against the state. Dennis McGuire, it took 25 minutes for him to die. He seemed to gasp for air. They also said they're not interested in collecting damages, just in getting the court to bar the chemicals from being used again. So that case pending. Meanwhile, Ohio's prison agency just announced its internal review, found it was humane, and is moving ahead with a more lethal injection using the same drug combination, but just more.
Yeah.
It costs less to incarcerate someone for life than to put them to death, and the fact that it's administered so unevenly. There's 22,000 murders a year in this country, and 100 people are sentenced to the death penalty every year. And it's done randomly and unfairly, and this is what should turn conservatives off.
But by the way, that's important what you just said. That's important what you just said, because I don't think people know that, because you hear them screaming all the time on right-wing radio about, we're going to pay to keep these scumbags in prison their whole life, and you're absolutely right. It costs more to execute them, right?
It does cost more to execute them. Death penalty trials are very costly, and the appeals process as well. And you're not going to limit appeals, okay? We have a constitution here. But the fact is that if you're a conservative and you don't like big government, my question is, what's bigger government than being able to strap a guy down to a table, a random sinner, this sinner, not that sinner, this murderer, not that murderer, strap a guy down to a table, inject him with poison the taxpayers pay for in front of spectators, and let him writhe on the table until he's dead? It doesn't get bigger government than that. When a government can murder you in front of an audience, that's big government.
Yeah, did you see they lit up the Colosseum in Rome? Every time that we strike down a death penalty in one of our states, because they know a little something about what happened at the Colosseum, but they're obviously very vehemently anti-death penalty. But interesting, these lawsuits, one of the lawyers said it's largely an uncharted area because there's not a whole lot of prospect of winning. He said death row inmates often have distant relationships with family who can't argue economic losses from their death, and I don't think any court will want to award too much to the family of a killer. But again, I think it's beside the point. It seems like in both of these cases right now, they're just trying to get them to stop this, or to, I mean, they're not looking for money.
Well,
John.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and again, I accept the fact that the majority of Americans support the death penalty. I know every Democratic president in my lifetime, I think, has supported it. That's one of the great ironies of this society. Carlin used to say America was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Our modern irony is that you can't be president unless you're a follower of Jesus who believes in murdering the sinner.
Yeah, and anyway. So we were saying a lot of good news this morning on jobs numbers. The unemployment went down to 6.3. We added, I think, good God, more than 288,000?
Something like that, yeah.
Jobs last month. Obamacare just saved the U.S. economy from contraction is the other headline. So obviously it's going to be all Benghazi all the time. But otherwise, John, things just not looking so good. We have all these doom and gloom storylines in the media. And meanwhile, Jeb Bush's steep challenge for 2016, new Wall Street Journal NBC News poll. Oh, this is sad. Mr. Bush, or should have been him, smart one.
Mm-hmm. And Jebby.
Enjoys little of the goodwill his older brother George W. did in the lead up to his 2000 presidential campaign. Among Republicans, particularly motivated ones, the former Florida governor lags likely competitors such as Rand Paul, and he can't hold a candle to the warmth that Hillary Clinton summons among her partisans, to say nothing of young voters, women, and Hispanics. So, they keep having a new great white hope in every cycle, don't they? They think is somehow...
It's a consistently white hope in every cycle, yeah.
Today,
but it's really more like a great white recycle in every cycle.
Yeah. Article reads, today in part because the Bush name overall has taken a beating, you think.
Yeah.
Nearly a third of Americans hold a negative view of him, while just 21% have a positive view. So, but it does seem like that's what they think everybody's going to be the savior. Chris Christie was, right, the one before that, which seems to, I don't know what, the shine seems to be off. Chris
Bloom is off the rose.
I think Chris Christie will still run, and I still think he can run, but it's coming down to
never seen him run.
Race between Jeb Bush for the establishment GOP, Mike Huckabee for the evangelical right-wing Christian demographic, and Rand Paul for the Tea Party borderline nutjob demographic that exists there as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a real slugfest in terms of seeing who can raise the most funds between these three parties. Mike Huckabee is definitely running.
I think Jim is correct. I'm not sure Chris Christie will run. I think he will take a helicopter and then a limo and then perhaps a
hover around.
And then maybe a motorized scooter. All right. Van Jones on CNN talking about the Republican strategy.
It looks like all spring and all summer the Republicans are going to take every problem on the world stage and use it as an excuse not to come together, not to solve America's problems, but just to blame President Obama. The Ukraine, Benghazi, whatever it is, same script. Obama's making America look weak. No, you guys are doing that. That's what you're doing. America looks weak when we jump into these dumb wars that we can't pay for or win. America looks weak when we got an opposition party at home that won't help the president in the war, in peace, overseas, or at home.
I love him.
Don't you?
I do. He makes me squee. But yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right. Let's take Rich in Philadelphia for John. Hey, Rich, you're on with John.
Hey, Steph, how you doing?
Good.
I'm an advocate of the death penalty. I feel like you got to remove some of these people. If we were killing human beings, I wouldn't feel bad. But what this guy done to that girl, it was unbelievable. And there's no place.
You are correct about that.
And also, these guys kill prison guards. They kill other prisoners. They do what they want. And now, I'm not an anti-abortionist guy, but when Kermit Gosnell in Philly was sticking needles in the back of almost full-term babies, where was the left then yelling about killing and murder and where were they then?
Was there anyone on the left defending Kermit Gosnell, mister?
Right.
Everyone said he should deserve to go to jail.
Absolutely.
No one defended him.
Everybody on the left said the exact same thing.
Hey, mister, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you celebrate Christmas?
I wouldn't call myself religious. I wouldn't call myself a Christian, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus. If we lived the way, I don't think he was divine. I think he was another man, but he taught the right way to go.
It was a simple question.
I agree with you. But you disagree with Jesus about the death penalty, right? I mean, Jesus stopped an execution and said only people who've never sinned have a right to kill other people.
Oh, that's what he says. He who sins throw the first stone. I understand that.
But you're disagreeing with that because you're saying, have you ever sinned in your life?
Of course I have.
So how can you agree with Jesus and then support execution?
Because I believe when you have a mad dog, you destroy it. Well, when you have a mad human, what would you have done with Adolf Hitler?
Listen, and I'm with you. Go ahead. You can believe that all you want. I'm just saying that's an area where you don't agree with Jesus. You don't believe in redemption. You know, we used to call prisons penitentiaries. I don't think murderers should be allowed out. I think if you kill someone, you got to stay locked up, deprived of your freedom as long as that victim remains dead. I'm just pointing out the fact that for those who claim to follow Jesus, he was pretty specific on this, and most of our allies don't do this anymore, and it doesn't save us money. It only satisfies revenge, and it's not a deterrent. So go ahead and support it all you want.
We could talk about the Europeans all we want. But they're the most barbaric people in the world, because that's where all the wars start.
Oh, listen, Iran loves the death penalty.
We could talk about France, we could talk about Germany, we could talk about all, but that's where all the wars start, with the civilized Europeans. And I don't want to become Europe.
You know,
they don't have the death penalty.
Iraq executed Saddam Hussein. Are we like Iraq?
Sharia law.
Oh, Sharia law.
Sharia law.
Okay, all right.
All right. Oh, heavens, we have to... We have to break. Okay. You know, you best bring it if you're going up.
Him before we could call the Bush family as witnesses for the defense.
Exactly.
You best bring it when the ecclesiastical mook is up in here. All right. 46 minutes after the hour. Back with more Fridays with People Saying on the Stephanie Miller Show. Yeah. Okay. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. 50 minutes after the hour. Comedian Dean Obadala at the top of the hour has a new piece. Obama will weaponize comedy at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yes.
Do you know who my comedy weapon is? John Fugelsang. He's my nuke. He's my comedy nuke.
Yeah. Stephen the Nukes.
Stephen the Nukes.
I think I'm going to be on MSNBC's White House Correspondents' Dinner pre-show tomorrow afternoon. So if you're hanging out and ignoring the nice weather and being inside with the TV, please tune in to watch me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. By the way, speaking of which, because I just weaponized you on that last guy, that anyone that just calls to talk religion with John Fugelsang, it's always a thing of beauty.
Yeah. Well, he didn't call it talk religion. You know what? He didn't call it talk religion, and in fairness, but you know, it's like I'm not going to tell people don't support the death penalty. It's a very powerful thing, and people really have this strong desire for revenge. I'm just one of those Americans who knows revenge doesn't work, and it doesn't bring a dead person back, and it doesn't improve our humanity as a society.
And I keep saying the same thing you just said, John. I think life in prison is worse. I don't see why people think that, you know, that's a better solution. But anyway.
Look, I mean, I know this guy did horrible things, and no one's disputing that this man tortured and killed this poor woman. But the fact is, we are supposed to be better than they.
Yeah.
We're supposed to not be the evil murderers.
No, I said that. Yes, I heard, you know, of course, a right-wing talk show host saying, so what? He suffered. She suffered. And right, but that's the point of society. We're supposed to be better than that.
You know, it's like,
it makes you know better than him.
Or are you just going to call yourself the good guys?
Yeah. By the way,
we did learn that the Europeans start all the wars.
Your pans.
Your pans
start all the wars.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic.
Not my pans. Your pans start the wars.
George W. Bush would be surprised to hear that.
Started the American Civil War. You know, that was our we lost, what, 500 million people in the Civil War? Did Japan start that one?
That one didn't count.
Germany?
That one didn't count. There were no Europans.
But I saved this piece for you, John. I don't know if you saw it, Nicholas Kristof last Sunday, but it reminded me so much of you. Religion for 1,000, Alex. He writes, secular Americans are largely ignorant about religion, but in surveys, religious Americans turn out to be scarcely more knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Americans are both deeply religious and profoundly ignorant about religion, wrote the author. One of the most religious countries on earth is also a nation of religious illiterates. And we learn that every week when someone calls to talk to John. Nearly 2/3 of Americans say they believe the Bible holds the answer to all or most of life's basic questions, yet 1/3 know that Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount, and 10% think that Joan of Arc was Noah's wife.
Wow. Wow.
Many Americans know even less about other faiths, from Islam to Hinduism. And then, you know, we were talking about the guy that killed the Sikh after 9/11 because he was wearing a turban.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
morons.
Yeah. And John, you talk about that all the time, people misquoting the Bible or using it for, you know, to mean something that it didn't mean, right?
Well, everyone of every religion, and again, all my atheist friends, what they hate about religion is how it's all buffet. People pick and choose the parts of their holy books they want to follow. And that's true. But for every right-wing Christian who wants to use the Bible to justify selfishness or exclusion or looking down on gay people or to justify war and violence, you'll find ways to use the Bible to justify acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, and love. And this is the struggle with Islam. It's the struggle with every religion right now. The people who are picking and choosing the parts for love versus the people who are picking and choosing the parts for meanness.
Yep.
By the way, Joan Van Ark was Noah's wife.
That's
Joan
right.
Van Ark
Thank
was,
you,
in fact,
Jim.
Noah's wife.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
And it was
for that
really mean that she didn't get a part in the movie.
Peg in Illinois, you're on with John. Hi, Peg.
Hi, Jeff, John. I think I remember that Michael Dukakis was against the death penalty, and they trotted out that meme, like, what if Kitty was raped and all this, these horrible...
Right. In the debate, I believe it was Sam Donaldson who asked, and Dukakis was standing there like a deer in the headlights with nothing.
Yeah.
Bernie, what's his name?
Clinton triangulating after that because of that very setup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll never see a Democratic presidential nominee who's completely opposed to the death penalty again.
Yeah, and I do feel my mother was a lifelong hardcore Catholic, and I was the one that had to bring to her attention that the Catholics are against the death penalty. They really
every bit as much. The Pope's every bit as much against the death penalty as against abortion. That's true.
Yeah.
The difference is abortion are private individuals doing it, and the death penalty is the state and the government doing it with taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we were saying, wasn't it Jim, the Saturday Night Live sketch? Remember they did a parody of it, and they kept making more and more horrible things happen to Kitty Dukakis to see if they get a reaction from him. I mean, it's just, but
it was very funny. But you're
right. He didn't show the proper amount of blood.
But
he didn't show the proper amount of bloodthirstiness for an American, right? Regarding the
you know what though? Here's the thing: Americans are decent people, and I will tell you. The support for the death penalty, but I also understand that if you showed executions on live TV, you'd have 75% of the population opposed to it within a year.
Yep. John, someone's trying to call you to tell you you're on the Stephanie Miller Show.
They will be put to death.
Giggle, giggle, giggle.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Jerome in Illinois, you're on with John. Hello, Jerome.
Good morning, Stephanie and crew.
Good morning.
Hey, I love your show. I believe in 99% of all what you say. I'm a union member.
Well, then you're only wrong 1% of the time.
Well, that point is nobody agrees with everybody all the time.
That's right. All right, go ahead.
Okay. With that being the case, it's like being a Christian, and in this case, I believe in capital punishment. I look at when Jesus talks about thou shalt not, kill, is really thou shalt not murder, because killing has always been sanctioned by government or officials.
That's not Jesus, that's the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Okay, when you look at Romans, the 13th chapter, obey your government, verses 1 through 5, it talks about...
That's not Jesus, that's Paul.
Okay, once again, you can't separate,